as we approach the wonderful, wonderful celebration of Chanukah, which is the Chag HaUrim, it's the holiday of lights, of wonderful cheer, of wonderful simcha, of wonderful bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and our deliverance by the hand of Hashem Yisparach. We find ourselves in a rather most difficult situation in Eretz Yisrael and throughout the world of Jewry. Ever since we were attacked on Shmini Atzeres, we find ourselves in a rather no-win situation. We are sending our young men, sons, children, husbands, chasanim, fathers, grandchildren, and the women as well in the army into Gaza in order to hopefully be able to extricate those who are yet captives within the hands of our enemies. We seek to destroy that enemy once and for all and to rid ourselves of Hamas. But as we know, at what cost? These are decisions, these are dvarim ha'omdim b'ruma shel olam, and we have very little to do other than to do that which is ours to do, both insofar as the IDF is concerned, Mesiras Nefesh required of people unspoken of, unimaginable, other than by the Akedas Yitzchak of Avraham Avinu, and to daven, and to support the effort financially. But at the end of the day, we find ourselves in our tefillos asking Rebbeinu Shalom, what more can we do? What are we to do? And here, as always, whenever we look at the days in which we find ourselves, and specifically the Parsha, the Sedra, that we lay on Shabbos Kodesh and Shul, we do have succor, and we do have comfort, and we do have a sense of chizuk, of support. The Gemara in Shabbos tells us, the well-known Gemara, regarding the story of Chanukah, when that small tribe of the Beis Chashmonaim took upon themselves to engage in a war whose odds were so thoroughly stacked against them, ultimately resulting in Masarto Giborim b'yad Chalashim v'Rabim me'ad ma'atim u'tumeim b'yad Horim Rishon b'yad Tzadikim v'Zeidim b'yad Eskeisor Esacha, when everything was against us, and nonetheless, the family of Matisyahu and Kohen Gadol took upon themselves to effectively not simply attack the enemy, not simply defend themselves against the enemy, the Seleucid Empire, but effectively to rout the enemy and to banish them. And when they were able to reclaim the Beis HaMikdash and they entered its environs, they found only one flask of oil. And they knew that it would only suffice to light one evening, one day's worth of the kindling of the menorah. And they used it. And we know, it lasted for 8 days. But what was their cheshbon? What were they thinking? They knew that it could only last one day. What were they thinking? Well, no doubt, they looked inside the Parsha VaYeshev, a difficult Parsha, the sale of Yosef HaTzadik, the ultimate dreams that are dreamt by the Sar Mashkim and the Sar Ophim, and the most difficult section of Yehuda. Yehuda is understandably somewhat excised from his brothers, because had he told them, never mind, don't kill Yosef, but sell him instead, had he said to them, don't sell him, let's return him to Abba, to Yaakov Avinu, they would have done so. And therefore, he parts ways from them. And he goes to an area in which they do not live. And he marries the daughter of a person there from the land of Canaan, a socher, a tagar, a merchant, or according to some, potentially even a Canaanite. He marries her. He produces 3 children. He finds a wife for the oldest, Tamar. Er dies because of his sins. Onan dies because of his sins. He is understandably hesitant to give her to Shelah, his 3rd son. And he says to her, return to your parents' home. Return to your father's home and await my giving Shelah unto you. And she does so. And who knows how long she has to wait. And ultimately, the wife of Yehuda passes away. And then we are presented with this impossibly difficult Parsha that Yehuda, after sharing the tzon, the sheep. He goes and he sees this woman sitting by the crossroads and he doesn't recognize her. And he turns to her and he says to her effectively, please, ready yourself, as it were. I want to live with you. I want to live with you. Havano avo elayich, because he didn't know that it was his daughter-in-law. How could Yehuda possibly do this? Says the Medrash, equally oblique. Rabbi Yochanan, bikesh lavar, he saw her and he turned away from her, of course. And the Kadosh Baruch sent him an angel that was in charge, appointed over lust. And what did that Malach say to Yehuda? He didn't say to Yehuda, look at her, she's beautiful. Take advantage of the moment. You're down and out after the passing of your wife. Amrlo, he said to him, Yehuda, where are you going? If you're not going to partake of this moment, from where will the kings of Israel stem forth from? From where will the greatest individuals of Klal Yisrael issue forth from? And only then, as it were against his will, he pitched himself away from the road that he really wanted to choose and rather forced himself into the moment, Bal Karcho, against his will, Shalobotavaso. Against his will. Not being fully understanding or positioned or in agreement with the moment in which he was about to engage. But wasn't that, in fact, what Yaakov Avinu had done when his mother told him to fool his father Yitzchak and present himself as Esau before him in order to wrest the brachos that were needed by him, that were due him appropriately, but nonetheless, that required his engaging in something that was anything but emes, anything but truthful, insofar as his very grain, titan emes the Yaakov. And yet Yaakov did exactly that, because he did his best given the moment at hand. And doesn't the Medrash tell us regarding Tamar that when she presented herself to Yehuda and she had saved herself, instead of marrying someone else, she had saved herself waiting longfully for him and then seeing that it wasn't going to be unless she took matters in hand. She presents herself before him and she turns to God Baruch Hu and says, let me not leave this house without being part of the birthing process from Yehuda of nothing short of Mashiach Tzidkenu. And she presents herself before Yehuda and she says to him, Tahora ani, upanuya ani. I am not a nida and I am not married to anyone else. Are those the words of a harlot? Tahora ani, upanuya ani. Or are those the words of someone who is seizing the moment at hand, even if she fails to understand it quite fully well, but realizes that she need engage in the moment at hand? And when she turns to Yehuda and he says, I'll send you, after she asks, what are you going to give me? And he says, I'll send you Gedi'izim, I'll send you goats. But he didn't have them with him. And she says, well, what will you give me until then as collateral? And he turns to her and says, what do you want? To which she responds, give me your signet. Give me your clothing, according to Rashi. Give me your mata, your staff. He gives it to her. And we know the rest of the story. That when he sends the Gediya Izim, the goats, he can't find her. The person that he sent on his behalf cannot find her. And ultimately, when he is told that his daughter-in-law Tamar is pregnant and she's being sent out to be killed by Beis Din, by fire, she says, to whom these things belong, why he is the father. And Yehuda says, Tzadka mimeni, I am the father. And we know that there issues forth from this Peretz, from whom comes no less than David HaMelech. Our history has shown very clearly that there are times in life that we really don't know exactly what to do. And far be it from us to have full clarity at the moment. But we act upon the present moment and we do our best. Whether it's Yaakov Avinu in front of Yitzchak, whether it's Tamar in front of her father-in-law, whether it's Yehuda in front of Tamar, whether it's the Hashmonaim, victorious in their battle and only finding one flask of oil, but saying, well, we can't do better than this. This is our best. Well, we present day in Eretz Yisrael are doing our best. And we can't do more than that. So we look at the Sedra and we say to the Ribbono Shel Olam, Ribbono D'Alma, grant us a Chanukah of miracles. Grant us a Chanukah of the full destruction of our enemies and the deliverance of our wives, sons, fathers, brothers. Grant them back to us. For at the end of the day, we can only do our best. Grant us a Yeshua. Grant us a culmination of what has to be done. And grant us an ability to stand before the Chanukah menorahs tomorrow night and say to Ribbono Shel Olam, thank you so much for the nisim she'asa nisim lavoseinu b'yamim ha'hem b'zman hazeh. A freilichen Chanukah and a wonderful Shabbos.